In the bowels of every metropolis, beneath the dazzling glow of neon lights and the imposing shadow of skyscrapers, pulses a reality that many prefer to ignore. It is the voice of the street, a chorus of untold stories, of daily struggles, and of an incessant search for something more. We are not talking about postcards, clean avenues, or gleaming shopping malls. We are talking about the ghettos, the forgotten neighborhoods, the communities where survival is an art and hope a whisper. Here, faith is not a Sunday luxury, but a daily shield, a compass amidst the chaos, and it is here, in this raw and authentic setting, that humanity's most powerful narratives find a new echo, a new resonance. Because, believe it or not, the oldest stories in the world are still being written on graffitied walls, in tired eyes, and in the resilient hearts of our people. They speak of justice, oppression, redemption, and the inextinguishable flame of hope. And today, we will delve into one of these stories, one that transcends time and space, and that manifests in surprising ways on the streets we call home. Imagine a city where prosperity is an island, surrounded by an ocean of scarcity, where the line between success and failure is as thin as a thread of hope. In neighborhoods like South Central Los Angeles, the Bronx in New York, or the West Side of Chicago, the fight for social justice is not an academic theory, but a palpable reality. It is the battle against police brutality, against the lack of opportunities, against gentrification that expels families from their homes. It is the silent oppression of the system that perpetuates cycles of poverty and despair. The statistics are cold, but the lives behind them are warm with pain and resilience. And it is in this cauldron of challenges that faith becomes not only a refuge, but a tool for transformation. Churches, community centers, mosques, they become the new temples, the bastions of resistance, where the word meets action and hope refuses to die. But how can the stories of an ancient book speak to this contemporary reality? How can the wisdom of millennia illuminate today's dark alleys? The answer lies in the universality of human experience, in the pain of injustice, and in the promise of redemption. And to illustrate this, we will revisit one of the most impactful narratives in the Bible, the story of a man who rose against oppression and led his people to freedom. Moses. The story of Moses, as we know it, is that of a liberator, a prophet who defied Pharaoh and led his people out of slavery in Egypt. But what if this story was not just a distant echo of the past, but a mirror of our own reality? Imagine Moses not as an Egyptian prince, but as a talented young man raised within the system, perhaps a civil rights lawyer, a community leader with access to the corridors of power. He saw oppression up close. Police brutality in his neighborhood, lack of decent housing, the criminality that plagued his people. He felt the pain of his people, the frustration of seeing his brothers and sisters trapped in a vicious cycle of poverty and marginalization. Modern slavery has no physical chains, but invisible chains of debt, lack of education, denied opportunities, and Pharaoh is not a crowned king, but a system, a power structure that perpetuates inequality. In a moment of epiphany, perhaps not a literal burning bush, but a deep encounter with injustice or an undeniable inner voice, Moses is called. He is called to be the voice of the voiceless, the hope of the desperate. He tries to argue, "Who am I to do this? I am not a good speaker." But the voice insists, "I will be with you." And so, Moses, the unlikely, the reluctant, accepts his destiny. He confronts Pharaoh, the corrupt politicians, the big businessmen who exploit cheap labor, the bureaucrats who create laws that oppress the most vulnerable. The plagues are not locusts or frogs, but the social and economic consequences of injustice. The drug epidemic, gun violence, family disintegration, lack of access to health and education. Each plague is a symptom of the system's disease, a manifestation of the oppression that suffocates the community. And then the Exodus begins. Not a literal crossing of a Red Sea, but an arduous journey through the urban desert. It is the struggle to build better schools, to create professional training programs, to organize the community against gentrification. It is the legal battle for civil rights, the resistance against police brutality, the search for dignity on every corner. The desert is full of challenges: internal disunity, lack of resources, the temptation to give up. The people's murmurings are not against the lack of water, but against the slowness of change, the persistence of inequality, the feeling that nothing will ever change. But Moses, the leader, the visionary, continues to guide. He teaches his people to organize, to empower themselves, to find their own voice. He reminds them of their identity, of their collective strength, that they are not alone. He inspires them to see beyond immediate circumstances, to glimpse a promised land, a future where social justice prevails, where equal opportunities are a reality, where every child has a chance to prosper. This journey is long and full of obstacles. There are moments of doubt, despair, betrayal, but faith, resilience, and the leadership of Moses, the prophet of the street, keep the flame alive. He does not promise a magic solution, but a path, a process, a continuous struggle. He reminds them that freedom is not given, it is conquered, and that true freedom is not just the absence of oppression, but the presence of justice, dignity, and opportunities for all. The story of Moses, when viewed through the lens of our urban reality, becomes a powerful manual of resistance and redemption. It teaches us that oppression, in its various forms, still exists, but that the voice of justice can never be silenced. It shows us that unlikely leaders can emerge from the most unexpected places, and that faith, when combined with action, can move mountains, or, in this case, tear down walls of inequality. Moses' legacy is not just about a historical event, but about an eternal principle: the tireless pursuit of freedom and justice for all. It challenges us to look at the plagues of our society: violence, poverty, discrimination, not as fatalities, but as symptoms of a system that needs to be transformed. It invites us to be Moses in our own communities, to use our voice, our talents, our faith, to fight for a better future. Be an activist, an educator, an artist, a neighbor who cares. Each of us has a role to play in this journey. The Promised Land is not a distant physical place, but a state of being, a society where compassion and equity are the pillars. It is a continuous work, a daily construction, but it is a vision worth fighting for. So, what is your burning bush? What calls you to action? What Pharaoh are you willing to confront? The voice of the street is crying out for justice, for hope, for redemption, and the story of Moses reminds us that, with faith and courage, we can be the answer. Freedom is calling. Are you ready to lead? If this message resonated with you, if you believe in the power of faith to transform reality, leave your like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Together, we can amplify the voice of the street and build a more just and hopeful future. Until next time.